Boker Tov, good morning, everybody. Here we are, coming up on this week's Torah portion, as well as being on the cusp of the holiday of Hanukkah, which, of course, is why I'm dressed the way I am. I've got my thrusting spear, I've got my Alexandrian helmet, one of two helmets that would be contemporaneous to the period and would have been worn by elite warriors on either side. I also have a Macedonian style helmet, but I happen to like the Alexandrian helmet because, as it was back then, it's the best helmet for being able to put on your glasses and wear them. And I'm sure that's what many of the Greco-Syrians were worried about in their day. Anyway, so we meet at the juxtaposition of our Torah portion, Vayeishev, with the holiday of Hanukkah. This happens every year, very consistently. And it's an interesting juxtaposition because we don't have any completely obvious connection between what's going on in Hanukkah and the story of our ancestor Joseph, which is what begins in Vayeishev. Now, there are some things that we can say about Joseph that maybe foreshadow Hanukkah a little bit. It's about a Jew struggling to maintain his identity in a foreign environment under a foreign empire. And so we can draw some parallels from that. But before we do, I want to teach you a little something about the art and tradition of Jewish interpretation. So you can see often when you're reading that the study of Torah is referred to as pardes. Pardes should sound familiar to you. It's the Persian root word for the word paradise that we use in English. Now, in the Jewish context, pardes means a garden, but it also is used as an acronym. The four letters Pei, Resh, Dalet, Samech represent, according to the sages, four different levels of Jewish interpretation of Scripture. What are the four levels? Peshat. Peshat means the ordinary meaning of what appears before us, or alternately the authoritative meaning, the one that is most commonly accepted. In the case of the story of Joseph, that's the story about how 11 brothers conspire to kill one brother, and he is sent as a slave into Egypt. And that is accepted more or less by our ancestors as factual. And that's the simple meaning of the story. That's the Peshat. On the other hand, there's a remez. Remez is the Hebrew word for a hint. Now, that's where we can start making parallels between Hanukkah and our Torah portion. As I suggested, the idea that Joseph is going to be a Jew trying to maintain his identity in a foreign court is a hint to us about Hanukkah, where Jews have to strive to maintain their identity in the presence of larger, more powerful Gentile forces. So it's a remez, it's a hint. Now there's drash. Drash, I'm going to set my spear aside for the moment here. Drash refers to the idea that there are homiletic things that we can draw from one to the other. And if I were to do something homiletic with Vayeishev that connects it to the story of Hanukkah, I might draw attention to the fact that there are two dreams mentioned. And dreams, of course, suggest nighttime, and Hanukkah is the holiday we celebrate at darkest night. It is the holiday of winter, the holiday that comes at the darkest time when we incorporate light. So I could draw some kind of homiletic parallel between the comforting dreams of Joseph and the comforting light of our menorah. And then finally, there is sod. Sod means secret. And so in Jewish tradition, sod is some kind of Kabbalistic or mystical or hidden meaning to the story. So, of course, in the story of Hanukkah, there is, while it's mostly the Peshat of Hanukkah, is a war story of freedom and battling for freedom. There is also this idea of miracles that maybe we can only see if we're looking for them, like the miracle of oil. An inattentive priest might not have noticed that one cruse of oil lasted for 8 days, but apparently he did. And during the story of Joseph, of course, there are secret forces, the dreams of Pharaoh, that allow him to succeed in the most unlikely of situations. So maybe there's a mystical connection too. So that's Peshat. But I want to draw attention to something else, and that is heroism. What is heroism, and who is a hero? Now, when we're presented with Joseph at the very beginning of the story, he's no hero. He's rather a callow youth. He's self-indulgent. He is fully satisfied in the world he lives in, where his father considers him the favorite, and at times he even lords that over his other brothers. And then he finds himself in deep extremis. First, he's thrown into the pit with an idea that he was going to die there, but then the brothers decide to profit off of his misfortune and sell him into slavery. Hardly a better situation, except that he's still alive. That's about all that it counts to. None of this is going to frame itself in a way that is automatically going to turn Joseph into a hero. And the same is true of Hanukkah. There's no obvious reason why a small priestly family in the town of Modin, a little rural community between what was then Jaffa on the coast and Jerusalem, basically the hinterlands, why would these people be our heroes, the hero of the Hanukkah story? There's no obvious reason, except that they make certain choices that will lead to that. And the same thing is for Joseph. He is able to take a down position and turn it into something heroic. So I think what we have to ask ourselves at this juncture between our Torah portion and the holiday of Hanukkah is, what makes a hero? It's hard to say. You know, the famous Israeli folk song, which is so hard for us to sing because it has so many syllables shoved into each stanza, Mi Yimalel, who can retell the things that have befallen us? In every age, a hero or sage comes to our aid. Now, what I think is striking about that song is it doesn't name Judah Maccabee. It doesn't name his father, Mattisyahu, or the rest of the Hasmonean family, who are the identified heroes of the story. Rather, what it says is that Hanukkah is a recurring experience. Who can retell the things that have befallen us, right? So there are many Hanukkah-like moments, and in each case, a hero or sage will arise. So we like to say on the Peshat level, on the obvious level, that Judah Maccabee, his brothers, his father, these are the heroes of Hanukkah. But what the song tells us, that the secret, the sod of Hanukkah, is that there's always room for a hero, and no one knows who that will be. So, will it be me? Will it be you? Maybe we need to realize that when we find ourselves in moments of extremis, in moments where we feel that we or our community is in jeopardy, it is behooving of us to take the lessons of Joseph, to take the lessons of Hanukkah, and for us to become the hero, for us to step forward to answer the question, Mi Yimalel, who can retell all the things that have befallen us. We are the heroes or sages of our own age. We need to gird ourselves in the helmets and mighty weapons of faith. It's kind of a military metaphor, which does fit for Hanukkah, but it sounds a little more Christian, I know. But in any case, the idea that we are going to step up and we are going to take the lead in standing up for our people, our faith, our tradition, that's what we're being called to do by the juncture of these two stories, the story of our holiday and the story of our Torah portion. So next year, maybe I'll wear my Macedonian helmet and show you what that looks like. It's kind of cool too. They both feature these funny kinds of crests in different forms. It's actually it's a weird sartorial thing that appeared in helmets that serve no real practical purpose, but they're meant to be fashion statements. Anyway, that's the end of our Torah portion for this week. I hope you are girding yourself for Thanksgiving as well as the beginning of Hanukkah, which starts November 8th. That's 3 days after the end of Thanksgiving. It's holiday season, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy.